There are new, invisible rules for everything you own. Your pill organizer, your phone charger, even your ID can now be considered illegal to fly with. We will show you what these new rules are, so you don't get caught in the trap. That small plastic box with its neat little compartments for each day of the week has quietly become one of the most dangerous things an elderly person can carry through an airport. What was once a lifeline is now seen as a liability, and the rules that changed did so without sending a memo to the millions of people who depend on them. The issue isn't the plastic box itself, it's the pills inside. To you, it's a carefully arranged schedule of essential medication. To a security agent having a bad day, it's a container of unlabeled, unidentifiable controlled substances. Imagine your grandmother, her hands trembling slightly, being asked to identify each and every pill without the prescription bottles they came from. The pink one for her heart, the small white one for her blood pressure. Under the cold, fluorescent lights of a security line, her memory falters. In that moment, she isn't seen as a grandmother. She's seen as a risk. This fear is real because it has happened. People have had their essential, life-sustaining medications confiscated, all because they were stored in a convenient organizer instead of their original bulky pharmacy bottles. They are forced to make a terrible choice: leave their medication behind and risk their health on vacation, or cancel a trip they've saved for all year to see their grandchildren. The rules were made to stop criminals, but they ended up punishing the innocent. But the terror doesn't end with solid pills. It gets much, much worse when your life depends on a liquid. Think about the 5 million people in America with type 1 diabetes who need insulin every single day. It doesn't matter if you're a CEO or a construction worker. Your body doesn't care about your schedule. You need that insulin. But that insulin is a liquid, and ever since the world changed, liquids have become the enemy at every checkpoint. You've heard of the 3.4-ounce rule, the small, travel-sized bottles you have to use for shampoo. The government says that medically necessary liquids are an exception. That sounds simple, doesn't it? A relief. But this exception comes with a terrifying catch. Your insulin must be declared. It must be inspected, and the cooling pack you need to keep it from spoiling? That's subject to inspection, too. It's no longer a simple convenience. It's a ticking clock that a stranger in a uniform can stop at any moment. So you get a doctor's note. You think this will be your shield, a piece of paper that proves your intentions are pure. You've done your research. You've followed the rules. You've packed everything perfectly. But that shield can shatter into 1,000 pieces under the gaze of one single agent who decides they don't like the look of your cooling pack, or who doesn't understand why you need to carry more than a dozen needles with you. Their word is final. It's a judgment call made in seconds that can have life-altering consequences for you. The note is read. The agent shakes their head. No explanation is given. Suddenly, you're standing there, your heart pounding, as they tell you that your life-saving medicine cannot board the plane with you. The promise of a medical exception is just that, a promise. And it's a promise that gets broken every single day in airports around the world. Have you ever felt that knot in your stomach while packing for a trip? Not for yourself, but for a parent or a grandparent. Going over their medications again and again. Terrified you might have missed one tiny rule that could derail everything? Let us know in the comments what was the one item you prayed the security agent wouldn't touch. Was it something you knew was technically against the rules, but absolutely essential? No judgment here. It's that cold dread of realizing your well-being, or the well-being of someone you love, is completely out of your control. It's subject to a rule you didn't know existed, interpreted by a person you'll never see again. You followed the rules you knew, but the rules keep shifting, silently, beneath your feet. You're left standing on unstable ground, holding things that were once perfectly normal, now suddenly forbidden. And if you think the fear stops with what you carry in your bag, you're wrong. The next level of fear comes when the forbidden item isn't something you're carrying, but something that's a permanent part of your body. The rules have even found a way to create an alarm that comes from inside your own skin. You would think the personal violation of an alarm coming from a metal hip or a pacemaker would be the peak of this travel nightmare. But the system has found a way to weaponize something even more fundamental: your next meal. It's a silent, absurd battle being fought every day in security lines, and the casualties are things you'd never expect. The main weapon isn't a new scanner or a complex machine. It's a single, simple question: can you spread it? If the answer is yes, then your food is now a liquid. That's the rule. A rule that defies common sense. That jar of peanut butter you packed, a stable source of protein for a diabetic, or one of the only things a senior with dental issues can comfortably eat, is no longer food. In the cold, logical world of security regulations, it's a gel, a potential threat, and it must be under 3.4 ounces. When was the last time you saw a jar of peanut butter that small? It's a shocking moment of realization for thousands of travelers. They watch, confused, as their perfectly harmless food is pulled from their bag. The agent holds it up, unscrews the lid, and says with zero emotion, "This is a liquid." You could argue. You could say that it's a solid, that it holds its shape, but you would be arguing with a wall. The rule is the rule. The jar is thrown into a clear plastic bin, joining a sad collection of expensive lotions and half-full water bottles. Your safe, reliable food option is gone, and the list of victims is long and bizarre. That cup of yogurt your doctor recommended for your digestion, it's a liquid. The small tub of hummus for your crackers, a liquid. A can of soup you were bringing to a sick relative, sealed and completely solid at room temperature. They'll tell you it could become a liquid. Even a jar of honey, a natural remedy for a sore throat during a long flight, is treated with the same suspicion as a chemical weapon. This isn't just an inconvenience. For many, it's a crisis. Seniors are often on strict, low-sodium or soft food diets. They can just grab a salty pretzel or a greasy slice of pizza from the airport food court. They pack these specific items because they are safe, because they are what their body can handle. Losing that food at the gate means facing a long flight with nothing to eat, risking a drop in blood sugar, or suffering from hunger because the options on the other side of security are either unaffordable or unsuitable. You might think, just buy it after you get through security. But that's a solution that ignores reality. The reality is that specialty dietary items are almost impossible to find in airport terminals. The reality is that a simple yogurt that costs $2 at your local grocery store costs $7 at the gate. The system strips you of your own safe provisions and then forces you to buy overpriced, unhealthy alternatives. It's a trap disguised as a safety measure. The agent doesn't see a senior with specific dietary needs. They see a jar of contraband that breaks the rules. They don't see the panic in your eyes as you try to explain that this isn't just a snack. There is no room for context, no space for humanity. Your personal needs are irrelevant. All that matters is the absurd, inflexible definition of a liquid. What's the most ridiculous, seemingly solid food item you've ever had to surrender at a security checkpoint? Was it a jar of your favorite jam, a fancy cheese spread, or maybe even a holiday fruit cake? Share the most absurd story you have in the comments below. This quiet confiscation of comfort and safety feels like a personal attack. They've gone after your medicine. They've gone after your food. You start to wonder what else they could possibly take. But the battleground isn't just with things you consume. The silent rule changes have now crept into your workshop, your garage, and even your toolbox, turning trusted, everyday tools into forbidden objects. Before the forbidden list even reaches the tools in your garage, it targets a different set of tools we use every single day, the ones in our toiletry bags. Here lives the most infamous gatekeeper of modern travel, a rule so old it can almost vote, yet it continues to stun and punish travelers daily. It's the unforgiving code of 311, 3.4 ounces in a 1-quart bag, 1 bag per person. A simple rule that has created countless moments of pure panic. For seniors, this isn't about smuggling liquids. It's about memory. It's about routine. The bottle of medicated eye drops on the bathroom counter has always been that size. The special cream for their painfully dry skin only comes in a 5-ounce tube. The hand sanitizer, a shield against germs in a crowded airport, was grabbed on the way out the door. These aren't luxuries, they are small necessities for comfort and dignity. But the scanner is heartless. It does not care about need, only volume. And the moment of discovery is a unique form of public humiliation. An agent with a bored expression pulls a plastic tray from the conveyor belt. It's yours. They hold up your bag and start pulling out items in front of a line of impatient strangers. That half-full bottle of expensive shampoo your daughter bought you, that brand-new tube of toothpaste, each item is held up like evidence in a trial for a crime you didn't even know you were committing. There's no discussion. There's no compromise. The choice you are given is brutal and immediate. Abandon the item to the bin, or leave the line. Go back to the check-in counter and pay to check a bag, almost certainly ensuring you miss your flight. The bin is a graveyard of good intentions, filled with perfectly harmless items confiscated because they were a single ounce over the limit. A silent monument to thousands of tiny, honest mistakes. What's the most painful toiletry you've ever had to leave behind at security? Was it that brand new expensive bottle of cologne, or a medicated cream you couldn't easily replace? Tell us in the comments what you had to sacrifice to the infamous 311 rule. The true fear here is the fear of forgetfulness. The anxiety that a single moment of distraction while packing can lead to a stressful, embarrassing, and costly ordeal. But the trap isn't just in what you can carry on. The rules have become so strange, they've started to ban things that seem completely harmless, even when they're tucked away safely in the belly of the plane. After all the anxiety about what's inside your bags, the careful packing of pills, the calculated risk of bringing a jar of honey, the surrender of your favorite shampoo, you finally reach the front of the line. You've passed the material tests. You believe the ordeal is over. But the most dangerous item you're carrying isn't in your luggage, your toiletry kit, or your pocket. It's in your hand. It's the driver's license you've held for 40 years. For years, a deadline has been looming, a shadow moving across the country that millions of people never even knew was there. It was called the Real ID Act, a law passed all the way back in 2005, designed to create a single, federal standard for identification. The deadline for compliance was a ghost, shifting again and again, from 2020 to 2021, then to 2023. And finally to May 7, 2025. For most, these dates were just background noise. But just a few months ago, that noise became a deafening silence. The deadline finally arrived. The gate slammed shut. Imagine your father, standing at the TSA podium. He's 72 years old. He's flying to see his first great-grandchild. It's a trip he's been planning for a year. He hands the agent his state driver's license, the same piece of plastic he uses to vote, to cash a check, to prove who he is. It's a perfectly valid, unexpired ID. But the agent doesn't scan it. They just look at it for a second before their eyes flick up to meet his. The agent speaks, but the words sound like a foreign language. "I'm sorry, sir, but this is a non-compliant license. We can't accept this for travel." The confusion is immediate and absolute. He looks at his license. It's real. It's his. "What do you mean?" "It doesn't expire for another 3 years," he says, his voice laced with disbelief. The agent, showing no emotion, simply points a thumb towards a small, almost hidden sign taped to the podium. The sign shows a picture of a license with a little star on it, next to one without a star. His doesn't have the star. The agent says the words that end his journey. As of May 7th, you need a Real ID compliant card, an enhanced license, or a passport to fly domestically. I will continue with the rest of the story in the next response. In that moment, the system has declared that he is not who he says he is. That trusted piece of plastic, a symbol of his freedom and identity for over half a century, has been rendered worthless for the one thing he needed it to do. He doesn't have a passport. He's never traveled outside the country. Why would he need one to fly from Ohio to Arizona? He was never told. He never got the memo. The government may have issued a press release, and a local news channel might have run a 30-second story about it between a car dealership ad and the weather forecast. But for your father, and for millions of other seniors who aren't constantly scrolling through government websites or watching cable news, this vital, life-altering information never broke through the noise. It was a secret password he was never given. Now, he's stranded. The line moves on, the people behind him sighing with impatience. He is left standing to the side, his ticket now just an expensive piece of paper, and his ID, a useless relic. There is nothing to confiscate, nothing to throw in a bin. The thing being rejected is him. This isn't an oversight you can fix at the airport. You can't just buy a new compliant ID from a vending machine. The only solution is to go home. To go to the DMV, wait in line for hours with a pile of documents, a birth certificate, a social security card, 2 proofs of residency, and apply for a new license. A process that takes weeks. The wedding will be long over. The new baby will be a month older. The moment is gone, stolen by a rule he never knew existed. Pull out your wallet and look at your own driver's license right now. Pause this video and look. In one of the top corners, is there a star or a flag or some other special symbol? A shocking number of people watching this will discover, for the first time, that the ID they rely on is no longer valid for air travel. Let us know in the comments, yes or no. Do you have a real ID-compliant license? You could be helping someone else realize they need to act before it's too late for them, too. Being blocked by a rule you can't see is one thing. But what happens when the thing that gets you banned isn't a government document at all, but a simple, innocent message? A joke, a political statement, or even a picture of a cartoon character printed on the t-shirt you're wearing. Being rejected for the license in your wallet is a bureaucratic nightmare. But there's another, more immediate reason people are stopped and their property seized. A hidden danger lurking in their bags that they never saw as a threat. It's not a weapon. It's not a liquid. It is pure energy, packed into a tiny, volatile box. The lithium-ion battery. The core rule is a paradox that traps thousands of travelers every week. Because these batteries are a fire risk, they are considered too dangerous to fly in the cargo hold of the plane. They must be in your carry-on bag, where a fire can theoretically be seen and extinguished. The mistake that costs people their property is simple: packing a spare battery or a power bank into their checked suitcase to save a little space. They think they're being tidy. In reality, they've just set their belongings up for confiscation. You don't even get the chance to argue. The decision is made behind closed doors, after your bag has rolled away on the conveyor belt. The scanner flags it, an agent opens it, finds the battery, and seizes it. You won't find out until you land in your destination city hours later. You open your suitcase to find your clothes shuffled around and a cold, impersonal notice from the TSA tucked inside, informing you that your expensive, fully charged power bank has been removed and destroyed. It's gone forever. For most, it's a huge inconvenience. You're now in a new city with a dead phone. But for a growing number of travelers, it's a medical crisis. That spare battery wasn't for a phone. It was for a portable CPAP machine needed to treat sleep apnea. Without it, they face a night of disrupted, potentially dangerous breathing. It was the battery for a portable oxygen concentrator, now leaving them with a limited supply of air in an unfamiliar place. The note just says, "Item removed." It doesn't see the panic of a person whose health depends on that confiscated piece of technology. Think about the last time you flew. Did you pack an electric toothbrush, a vape, or a spare camera battery? Confess in the comments. Did you put it in your carry-on, or did you toss it into your checked suitcase? Be honest. It's a rule many of us have broken without even realizing the risk. The fear here is born from ignorance. Not your fault, but the system's. No one clearly explains that this rule isn't just bureaucracy. It's because at 30,000 feet, a small battery fire in a cargo hold can become an uncontrollable inferno. The rule is written in smoke and fear, but its enforcement feels like theft, a silent removal of your property for a crime you had no idea you were committing. The invisible threat of a battery is one thing, but the list of forbidden items has grown so strange, it now includes things you could find in any forest or on any beach, souvenirs that seem like the most innocent and natural keepsakes imaginable. You've survived the fear of your medicine being taken, the absurdity of your peanut butter being a liquid, and the hidden danger of a battery in the wrong bag. You'd think you would be safe. But there's still the man-made chaos of your own electronic devices, a frustrating, clumsy performance that every traveler is now forced to learn. It's the security bin dance. For years, the rule was simple: laptops out of the bag. Then, a few years ago, tablets and iPads had to come out too. Now the rule has become a vague, ominous command at many airports, anything larger than a cell phone. That means your Kindle e-reader, your kid's Nintendo Switch, even a large portable hard drive. And yes, your CPAP machine often has to come out of its case, exposed for everyone to see. It's a moment of pure hassle. You're holding up the line, frantically untangling what feels like a rat's nest of chargers and cables just to liberate your tablet. You need 3 separate bins now, one for your shoes and jacket, a second for your laptop, a third for the iPad and the jumble of cords you just yanked from your carry-on. You feel the impatient stare of the person behind you. In the hurried scramble to repack on the other side, as you try to get out of the way, a single vital power cord is left behind in the bottom of a gray plastic bin. It's a simple, costly mistake born from the pressure of the process. A mistake you won't discover until you're hundreds of miles away in a hotel room with a 2% battery and a deadline. The real madness is the lottery. The rules are not the same everywhere. In New York, you might be able to leave your laptop in a special TSA-approved bag. Try that in Chicago, and you'll get yelled at to take it out. Fly out of an airport in Europe, and they may demand you power on every single device as proof that it works. There is no single standard, which means you can never be fully prepared. You are always at risk of doing it wrong. What's your biggest pet peeve with the electronic screening dance? Is it the inconsistent rules between airports, the fear of forgetting an expensive charger, or just the hassle of unpacking your neatly packed bag for the whole world to see? Share your most frustrating airport tech story in the comments. Once you've finally repacked your electronic life and survived that technological obstacle course, you'd think the list of threats would be exhausted. But the rules have reached a new level of strange. Now, they're coming for the very ground beneath your feet. The rocks, the sand, and even the water. Things you thought belonged to everyone, but now belong to no one who wants to fly. The idea that a simple rock from a beach could be a forbidden item is bizarre. But before we dig into the strange ways nature itself has been outlawed, let's cover the classic travel traps. These are the items you already know are a gray area. The sharp, the flammable, the things that just feel like they might be a problem. But the official rules are so specific, so nuanced, and so confusing, you're almost guaranteed to get them wrong. Take scissors. You might think they're banned completely, but they're not. The official rule in the U.S. states that blades must be shorter than 4 inches from the pivot point. The problem: first, nobody travels with a ruler. Second, even if your tiny craft scissors are technically legal, the final decision rests with the security agent. They can take one look at your perfectly compliant scissors and decide they don't like them. Into the bin they go. No appeal. The same goes for that nail clipper or pair of tweezers in your toiletry bag. While they are officially permitted, they are still subject to the agent's discretion. If they look particularly sharp or dangerous in the agent's opinion, they can be confiscated without a second thought. You are at the mercy of a judgment call. Lighters have perhaps the most confusing rule of all. You are allowed to carry one standard, disposable lighter, like a Bic or a Zippo. But it cannot be in your carry-on bag or your checked luggage. It has to be on your person, in your pocket. Meanwhile, torchlighters with their powerful concentrated flame are banned completely. So you can have fire in your pocket, but not in your suitcase. It's a rule that makes sense for safety reasons, but is completely counterintuitive to the average person. And then there are aerosols. That can of hairspray, dry shampoo, or deodorant falls under the same 3-1-1 liquid rule we all know and hate. If it's under 3.4 ounces and fits in your quart-sized bag, it's fine. But that large, can you packed in your checked luggage? It could be confiscated behind the scenes if it's considered a hazardous material, especially if it's not a toiletry item. You won't find out until it's too late. What's the most classic security item you've had to surrender at the last minute? Was it that tiny Swiss Army knife you completely forgot was on your keychain? Or a pair of scissors that you measured and were still told were not allowed? Share your story of getting caught in this confusing gray area. Losing a man-made object like a lighter is frustrating. You can always buy another. But what happens when the forbidden item is a piece of the earth itself? A unique memory from your vacation, something you can't replace. The rules for these are even stranger, and the penalties for breaking them can be far, far worse. Navigating the new rules for your ID, your food, and your tech feels like a trap at every turn. But for every rule designed to catch you, there's a surprising loophole you can use to your advantage. The truth is, the list of things you are allowed to bring is almost stranger than the list of what's forbidden. We're already working on a video revealing the shocking things that are still perfectly legal to fly with, including why you can bring a full-sized bowling ball in your carry-on, but not a jar of peanut butter. Subscribe for more.